All right, so here is my new kind of daily stretching routine. I also kind of use this as a warm-up before workouts now, actually, so you can also do that. But so first thing is a calf stretch, just a basic calf stretch. I just got my box over here, but just, you know, 1 foot at a time. This one here, keeping the knee straight. You can bend the knee a little bit to get a little bit different stretch. So again, just doing that on both sides. I'm kind of counting my breaths, just, you know, really, sometimes I don't even do that, you know, but, you know, 5 to 10 breaths, but just trying to relax and you know, sink into the stretch a little bit. So after the calf stretch, I got the neck stretch. With that one, I'm just doing where I just put one hand behind like this and then come over the top of the head and open up the neck, just keeping the shoulder down and yeah, just kind of playing around with the head position, finding where it's tight. Again, just doing that on both sides. After that, the wrist stretch. Again, there's a lot of different wrist stretches you can do, but I've been doing the one where I put my wrist together like this and then push across to one side and hold, and then push across to the other side. But again, feel free to do whichever one you want in there. Next one is a shoulder stretch. I've been doing this one where you pull across and wrap the hands together and then just keep the shoulders sunk down, while just letting that the back of the, you know, your upper back here open up. And again, thinking about letting the hands raise up towards the ceiling as you keep the shoulders down will increase the stretch. Again, doing that on both sides. After that, the chest stretch. And so again, if you have like a TRX or, you know, rope or something, you can use it to, you know, do like a chest stretch like this, where you kind of move the arms and find where you're tight. Or you can just use, you know, I got my squat rack here, door jam or whatever, and I've been doing this downward angle and then also doing this upward angle. And again, you can play with the hand position a little bit to increase that. After that's the lats, and the same thing, if you got your rope, you can use it to, you know, get a lat stretch like this, you know, just shifting the hips to one side to increase on one side, shifting to the other. Or again, you can use, you know, a door jam, or, you know, I got my squat rack here, but just this one here where you're leaning back, letting the side, the lat there on the side open up. So after that, we've got our quad and hip flexor stretch. And so with this one, this is the one where we're just doing this one here. And really think about getting the pelvis tilted back nice and tall. Try not to let the ribs open up as you're doing this. And think about pushing the butt back. And I'm putting my hands up like this while I'm doing this. And then you shift out into your hip flexor stretch. And with this one, I'm actually raising my arm up and reaching for like the opposite back corner. Again, to open up this line right here. And then from here, I'm going into the hamstring stretch where I straighten the other leg out and I go into my hamstring stretch. And I pull the toes back, make sure I'm not pointing the toes forward, keeping the hips square. And then again, repeat that on the other side, your quad hip flexor stretch, and then your hamstring stretch. So after that, I'm getting down on the ground and we're doing see, the first one's like a child's pose, the cobra. And so we're just getting down. Make sure you get far enough back here where you can see what I'm doing here. So I'm here, down in this child's pose. Arms out in front of me. And then I'm bringing myself through, walking the elbows out, elbow pits forward, dropping the hips to the ground, sinking the shoulders down, open up to this cobra stretch. Then from here I'm doing some head turns. So I'll drive this hand heavy into the ground as I look over that shoulder, and then drive the other hand into the ground as I look over that shoulder. Think about driving the shoulders down away from the ears. As you do this, you know, 5 to 10 times, and then nodding the head up and down. Again, 5 to 10 times. And then when you're done, bringing it back to your child's pose. Then we go into a glute stretch. And so this is the one where you're, change my angle here so you can see a little bit better.
what I'm doing. So this is just the one where you bring your leg forward like this, the pigeon pose, as they would call it in yoga. So like this, coming down your elbows if you can, you know, come down to your head, but just getting the glute, opening up in here. And then from here, we're coming to our bretzel stretch. And so, and again, after you do both sides, you're going to come back. And this time you're going to come through, but you're going to sit with this style like this and this style like this. So this is a 90-90. I got a 90 degree here, a 90 degree here. This top hand is going to stay on the ground in line with my hips. This hand tucks underneath it, and then I drop my shoulder towards that knee right there. And again, you might do a few reps just to kind of sink yourself down. But finally, when you get down where you want to be, you just hang out here and breathe and stretch, opening up that whole posterior chain. So that's your bretzel 2 stretch. After that, I'm looking at going into the Cossack, Cossack squat, kind of a groin stretch. So this out of the way. So with this one, we're just spreading the legs apart. And what I'm doing is I'm squatting down to one side. And I'm just hanging out here, making sure I'm pushing my knee out, opening up the groin here. And then, you know, I'll switch and come over to this other side. And again, pushing the knee out, opening up the groin in here. Then I'll actually come back, and then this time open up the toe to the ceiling and sit down as far as I can. And again, do it on the other side. And obviously I'll hold these longer when I'm doing my stretches. I'm just trying to give you an idea of what the stuff looks like. So there's your Cossack squat / groin stretch. The stick windmill. You know, you're familiar with that one, but again, that's just where you've got your stick, got your feet set, almost like you're in your pedal stance. Kick the hips back to that back leg, and you drop this shoulder down. We're going to get the elbow behind the knee, and we're going to hang out here and use this stretch to open that up. So after that, we've got our seated pike leg lifts. So for this one, now we're kind of getting out of the stretches. These are some activation drills that I've been using. And so this first one is really good for the core and the lats and the hip flexors to get them activated. So you're going to sit with your feet in front of you like this, toes pointed up, hands on the ground. You want to try to get them at least to you know, at level with your knees, going a little past if you can. And then you're going to drive your hands heavy into the ground. You're going to pick your heels up off the ground. You're going to hold and then bring it back down. And again, drive the hands into the ground, pick the heels up, and back down. So you should definitely be feeling that in your abs and your hip flexors. After that, I've been doing the, it's called the J lift. And you don't have to do this one if you don't have the stuff to do it. But I'll show you real quick. I'm going to grab you want a relatively light weight. You can use a barbell for this, a 45-pound barbell, or, you know, I've just got like a 12-kilo kettlebell. But what you're going to do is you're going to break all the rules that you would normally do with a deadlift, because what you're going to do is you're going to bend, you're going to tuck your chin, and you're going to just bend one vertebrae at a time, all the way down, bending through the lower back. And then you're going to pull yourself back up, stacking one vertebrae at a time on top of each other. So you really want to make sure that you're keeping some weight on the front of your feet as you're doing this. You don't want to hinge back. It's the anti-hinge. We're bending from the neck through the T-spine into the lower back. Just getting that spine to mobilize. And then stacking the vertebrae back on top of each other. So again, that's your J lift. Yeah. So again, it's a stretch more than a strength exercise. So you don't want to use too much weight with it. The next one is your Cook hip lift, and so the Cook hip lift is one where you're laying on your back. It's a single leg hip lift. where you're holding this leg in. And you know, if you have a little ball, you can hold the ball in place here. Thigh from moving the ribs as you do this, and you're going to hold for a count of 3 at the top, and you come back down, and then you squeeze the glute, come up, hold for a count of 3, come back down. So we've probably done these at some point in the past, and they're just a really good way to activate the glute and make sure that the glute's firing and doing its job. After that, I'll do one more round of the seated pike lifts, and then finally I'll finish off with an RKC glute bridge. So again, just hold on one quick second while I grab what I needed. Didn't quite have everything I needed apparently, but you're gonna need a block. You can, you know, also use a pair of shoes or something. What you're looking for is to get something in between your knees that you can squeeze. So now I'm gonna squeeze this block, and as I'm doing my hip lift, squeezing my glutes, squeezing the block, hold, 2, 3, and then come back down, squeeze the block, squeeze the glutes, keep squeezing both, hold, 2, 3, and back down, just like that. So that's your Cook or your RKC glute bridge. So so that's it. That's the basic sequence of stuff going through the stretch and then into those activation drills. And like I said, that's, you know, for me, I've been using that as a extended warm-up if I can. I'll use one of the shorter, like 15-minute warm-ups if I don't have time. But if I have time, I'll go through this longer sequence and use that as a warm-up for my workout. So anyways, there you go. Let me know if you got any questions.